Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about the hidden downsides of the wellness culture from a spiritual perspective. A few remarkable truths that some people just don't want to admit. This does not mean that it affects everyone the same way or that we are all shallow individuals. It's just another level of conformity that many people are challenged by. To reclaim true wellness, we must shift our focus from external validation to inner fulfillment. Wellness culture can lead to what is known as spiritual bypassing, where spiritual practices are used to avoid dealing with real-life issues. For example, someone might use meditation to numb emotional pain rather than address its root cause. Spiritual bypassing is a way of using spiritual ideas and concepts and practices to sidestep personal, emotional, or psychological challenges. In fact, many individuals who engage in spiritual practices report that they are using them as a form of escapism. This bypassing not only delays healing, but also creates a false sense of spiritual progress. The loss of authenticity. Wellness culture promotes a one-size-fits-all approach to health and happiness. Whether it's specific diet, exercise routine, or meditation practice, the assumption is that what works for one person will work for everyone. But spirituality is deeply personal. It's about finding your own path. So, individuals feel pressured to conform to wellness trends, even when those trends don't align with their values or their personal needs. This conformity stifles authenticity, a cornerstone of spiritual growth. Illusion of perfection. Wellness culture often promotes an unattainable ideal of perfection. From anything like flawless skin to endless energy, the message is pretty clear. If you're not thriving, you're failing. But this obsession with perfection is actually spiritually damaging. For example, a 2020 study published in the Journal of Health Psychology found that 62% of individuals who engaged in wellness practices reported feeling inadequate because they couldn't meet the high standards set by society through influencers and different brands. And that actually made them feel unworthy. So the wellness culture actually creates a constant pressure to be perfect in one way, and it creates a serious disconnection from our true selves and our true values. This eventually leads up to a sensation of emptiness, which is the opposite of self-acceptance. As Eckhart Tolle once said, the moment you realize you are not your mind, you step out of it. You become the watcher, the observing presence. Wellness culture keeps us trapped in the mind, obsessing over external validation and material goals. This is actually absurd because the people who are supposedly attracted to wellness culture consider themselves the opposite of materialistic. Number two is the commodification of spirituality. Wellness culture has actually turned spirituality into a commodity. From hundreds of dollars yoga mats to $40,000 crystal sets that I've seen in Sedona, the industry thrives on selling enlightenment at premium. But we know that true spirituality isn't something that you can actually buy. It's an inner journey that you go through. Now, of course, I'm not that different. My Breatharian initiations cost around $3,000, and that is for my time and my effort. But I can tell you that I try to make it so that my profit margin is reasonable, and what my students get is always more than what they came for. So, I'm not a saint as well. However, a 2021 report by the Global Wellness Institution revealed that the wellness industry is worth $4.5 trillion, with spirituality and mindfulness sectors growing rapidly. Yet, this commercialization often dilutes the essence of spiritual practices. For example, yoga, which originates as a path to self-realization, is now often reduced to a fitness trend, and that's it. Number three is the pressure to always be on. Wellness culture glorifies constant productivity and self-improvement. Whether it's waking up at 5 a.m. for meditation or squeezing in a workout during lunch breaks, the message is pretty clear. You must always be optimizing yourself, always. But this relentless pressure contradicts the spiritual principles of being rather than doing, and the concept of being good enough. A 2019 study in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine found that 75% of people who followed strict wellness routines reported being burned out within 6 months. This burnout not only affects mental health, but also stifles spiritual growth by keeping us in a state of perpetual striving for somewhere. And let me tell you something, there is nowhere to go to. There really is just being present in the moment itself. So striving, again, is the opposite. Wellness culture leaves little room for that type of stillness. And that really drowns out the inner voice that guides us towards true fulfillment. My next point is the neglect of emotional pain. Wellness culture often encourages us to think positive, to vibrate higher, which dismisses negative emotions like they're obstacles to be overcome. But this approach can actually be spiritually harmful, as it invalidates our authentic experiences. Suppressing negative emotions increases the risk of anxiety. In spirituality, this suppression creates a disconnect between the mind and the soul and prevents us from processing and healing emotional wounds. Point 5 is the isolation of the individual. Wellness culture often promotes a hyper-individualistic approach to health and happiness. The focus is on personal transformation, with little emphasis on community or collective well-being. But spirituality is really about connection, not isolation, about unity and altruism, not about selfishness. This isolation can hinder spiritual growth, as many traditions emphasize the importance of communal support and shared experiences. Step away from the pressures of wellness and trying to be something or do something that is defined as spiritual and embrace a more authentic, spiritually aligned path that is more in harmony with your true essence and the pace at which you choose to develop yourself at.